Okay, welcome to our topic called trigonometry. Trigonometry. No, I've had many students complaining, like I say, yo, trig are difficult. Trig. I mean, if you feel like trig is difficult, you are at the right place. More especially, I'm a pastor. We're gonna deal against the spirit of truth today. Today we're gonna be working actually or laying the foundation about truth. We're gonna be showing you much about trig ratios. Now, the first thing that you must know is a Cartesian plane. A Cartesian plane. What is a Cartesian plane? It's a cross. It's pamban. It's a cross. Then it's a cross. It's two lines. The line of vertical and the line of horizontal. Then, which the line of vertical we call it what? Y-axis. And the line of x we call it what? Yeah, of horizontal we call it what? X-axis. We have y-axis and x-axis. And we have to identify the axis. Here, from here until infinity, all numbers here what are positive. Here your y is what? It's positive. Here your x is not. It's negative. Here your y is what? It's negative. You see? That's how Cartesian planes looks like. So then we have a right angle triangle. As now we speak about trig now. Then you're gonna put the right angle triangle on that Cartesian plane so that we can find where it's the. So before we go there, let's go to the formula of what? Of a trig ratio, which my student, hey, what is the ratio of trig? I'll be like, it's simple, that one. It's so it's SOHCAHTOA, which say that sine is equal to opposite over hypotenuse, cos is equal to adjacent over hypotenuse, tan is equal to opposite over adjacent. Okay. So we have SOHCAHTOA. So you must know that before you go anywhere, we must know SOHCAHTOA by all means. Then we're going to introduce the line of inclination. The line that makes triangle triangle. The line of inclination. No. So because I need to gonna be dealing with the angles. So let's say that this is the angle theta. So for us to complete a right angle triangle, we must have the vertical line here. Bear this in mind. They said that to calculate sine, to have sine, what is sine? It's which is opposite of this theta and hypotenuse. That is the sine. And then to have ka is adjacent over what? Hypotenuse. To have toa is what? It's opposite over adjacent. But to look and identify the opposite is what? Is the line of what? Of y. You see? Is the vertical line. I need the vertical line is what? It's our y-axis. And our adjacent is the line of x. You see? And our hypotenuse is what? It's our r, our radius in the circle. It's our r. Our inclination is our radius, our everything. So it's our radius. So I want you to know them not by SOHCAHTOA, because that's just a formula to help us to memorize. But I want you to know about the lines. You have the line of y, the line of x, and the arm line, which we call it an arm. We call it's a radius. It's a half of it's a quarter of a circle. And when you complete this, it makes a circle. So it's a quarter of it. So quarter of circle, because it's the half of these two lines, which is these two lines are half. Then I think you can get it. Now that we have our adjacent, we have our opposite, we have our hypotenuse. So this SOHCAHTOA, help us to identify on which Cartesian plane, on which quadrant, because this is a quadrant. This is the first quadrant, Q1, Q2, Q3, and Q4. So we have quadrants. This is the first quadrant, second quadrant, third quadrant, fourth quadrant. It helps us on the quadrant to identify where is it sign on the first quadrant positive or negative? Is it sign on the second? Is sign on the third? Sign. Okay. So how do we get to that? So now we check the line, and its sign is what? It's opposite over what? Hypotenuse, which is y over r. You check on the first quadrant. What is your y? Your y is positive. What is your x? Your x is positive. And its sign is equal to opposite over hypotenuse, which is my y over what? R. This is our sign. So sign is y over r. Then you check your y is y what? My y is what? My y is positive on the first quadrant. And hypotenuse always positive. Meaning that my sign is going to be what? Positive. Because it's positive over positive. And then we'll come and look to our cos. Cos is equal to our adjacent over what? Hypotenuse, which is our x over r. And we check there, what is our x? X in the first quadrant is positive and r is always positive. Meaning that the cos also is going to be what? Positive in the first quadrant, on a Q1. Then we look for the tan. Then it's equals to what? Opposite over adjacent, which is y over what? R, y over what? X. We check our x positive, our y is positive. Meaning that tan is gonna be what? Positive. And that's why we have A here, which represents all of them in the first quadrant. They are positive. All of them they are positive. All of them they are positive. All. Then we go to the second quadrant. We have another line of inclinations here. Then we complete our right angle triangle with a vertical line. We have our angle, which is theta here. So come and look. What is your y here? Your y is this line, meaning that your y is positive. So you come and look into the sign. Sign is a y over r, which is y is positive, r is positive. Meaning that sign is gonna be what? Positive. Then you come to cos. Cos is what? X over r. Your x line is what? It's negative. Your r is always what? Positive. Your r is positive. Mean that your x is negative. Negative divided by positive is gonna give what? Cos be negative. Then you look for a tan. Tan says that y, it's y over what? X. Your x is what? Is negative. So negative divided by positive, it gives us negative. Mean that here only sign is positive. That's why we have S to represent sign. Mean that we have seen that on the second quadrant, our sign is what? Is positive. Then we move on. We are moving on to what? To the third quadrant. So in the third quadrant, we come and have another line of what? Line of inclination. And we complete our what? Our triangle. And then we're gonna have this line of what? Of y. This is line of x. This is our r. So we have completed it. You come and check. What is your x? Firstly, it's the sign. What is your y? Your y here is what? It's negative. Your r always positive. What is negative divided by positive? It's gonna be negative. Then you come and look your cos. What is your x? Your x is negative over r. R is positive. Mean that this is gonna be negative. Mean that your cos is gonna be what? Negative. You come and look for your tan. Your tan is what? It's y. Y is negative. and your x which is negative. The negative divided by negative is what? It's positive. Means that your term's gonna be what? Positive. That's why we're gonna have t here. T. Then it's only term that is what? That is positive. That is positive. That is positive. Then we're done with the third quadrant to identify it. Now we're going to the what? Fourth quadrant. We have our line of inclination, our radius line, the division line. Then we complete it with our vertical line to make a right angle triangle. This is gonna be what? Our y, which is negative, and our x and our r. And then we go to sine. Sine. You know your y is negative, mean that your y here is going to be negative, and your sine is going to be what? Negative. You go to your x. On your cos, your x is what? It's positive, and your r always positive. It's going to be remain here. Then the cos is going to be what? Positive. Then you go to your tan. Your y is what? Is negative, and your x is what? It's positive. Negative divided by positive is going to be negative. It means here we only have c, which is cos, that is positive on the first quadrant. Then with that trig ratio, now we know that in the first quadrant all of them they are positive. In the second quadrant only sine is positive. On the third quadrant tan is positive. On the fourth quadrant cos is positive. And all my students will be like, but sir, this is all student take coffee. Yes, it's all student take coffee. So we know quadratic Cartesian plane. Our quadrants are all student take coffee. Let's go and grab your coffee. You'll see me on the next lesson.